6:34 a.m. near Novotoretska, eastern Ukraine. A Russian motorcycle tears across the battlefield at 60 kilometers per hour. The driver thinks he's safe. He's wrong. 7th and 100 meters away, a Ukrainian sniper pulls the trigger on a 50 caliber anti-materiel rifle. The round travels for nearly 3 seconds. Then the motorcycle stops dead. Russian radio chatter erupts. The driver's head is gone. Even the shooter didn't believe what just happened. Context: 0:25-1:30. The Azov Brigade Sniper Group E-40 had been watching Russian assault patterns for days. Waves of troops on motorcycles were trying to break through Ukrainian lines near Dobropilya, where Russian forces were cut off and desperate. Every hour, more vehicles rushed forward, trying to reach their surrounded units. The Ukrainian defensive belt stretched for kilometers. Dragon's teeth, razor wire, anti-tank ditches. And above it all, drones that turned every movement into a death sentence. But some Russian vehicles still made it through, moving fast enough to avoid the drones, using speed as their only defense. That's where the sniper came in. His position was difficult. Visibility was poor. The target was moving. And 1,700 meters is beyond what most people think is possible with any rifle. But this wasn't most rifles. This was a 50 BMG anti-materiel weapon designed to punch through light armor and engine blocks at extreme range. The Russians didn't know they were being watched. They didn't know someone was calculating wind speed, target velocity, and bullet drop. They just kept coming. Build up. 133 bow. The sniper had maybe 8 seconds to make the calculation. The motorcycle was moving fast, bouncing over rough terrain. At 1,700 meters, the bullet would drop nearly 30 meters from its initial trajectory. Wind could push it several meters left or right. Temperature affected the powder burn. Humidity changed air density. One shot. One chance. The 50 BMG round weighs 42 grams and leaves the barrel at 900 meters per second. But by the time it reaches 1,700 meters, it's lost half its velocity. The round has to arc high into the sky like an artillery shell, then fall back down onto the target. The shooter can't see the impact point through his scope. He has to trust the math. The motorcycle kept moving. The driver was hunched low, covered by rubber anti-drone shielding that had been bolted onto the vehicle. The only exposed parts were the wheels, the engine, and a narrow gap where the driver's head poked through. The sniper adjusted for lead time. If the target is moving at 60 kilometers per hour and the bullet takes 2.8 seconds to arrive, the motorcycle will travel 47 meters during flight. He had to aim at empty air, at a spot the target hadn't reached yet. His finger tightened on the trigger. First strike, 3 Debutashim 430. The rifle kicked back with massive recoil. The muzzle blast echoed across the valley. The round screamed downrange, invisible, silent, faster than sound itself. For 2.8 seconds, nothing happened. Then the motorcycle jerked sideways. The front wheel twisted. The vehicle slowed, drifted, and stopped completely in the middle of the battlefield. No explosion, no fire. Just a sudden, total halt. Russian radio channels lit up immediately. Screaming, panic, confusion. The intercepted chatter was clear. Driver down. Headshot! He's gone! The sniper watched through his scope as Russian soldiers ran toward the stopped motorcycle. They couldn't understand what happened. There were no drones overhead, no artillery strikes, no machine gun fire. Their comrade had just stopped. Sniper Group E-40 recorded the entire sequence. The video shows the shot, the impact, the radio intercept, and the aftermath. They posted it on Telegram with a simple message. Even the shooter himself didn't believe the result at first. But this isn't a myth. This is the work of our most experienced sniper. The round likely penetrated the rubber shielding and struck either the driver directly or passed through the narrow gap in the armor. At that range, with that caliber, the kinetic energy was still enough to cause catastrophic damage. The motorcycle carried no additional crew. When the driver went down, the mission ended. Escalation. 4:30, 6:30. But this wasn't an isolated incident. This was one kill in a battle that had turned the fields near Novotoretska into a graveyard. Russian commanders were desperate. Their forces near Dobropilya were surrounded, running out of food and ammunition. Relief convoys couldn't get through. Every assault failed. But the commanders kept sending more men, more vehicles, more waves of attackers into the same kill zones. Ukrainian drone footage revealed the scale of the disaster. In one clip alone, more than 50 Russian bodies lay tangled in razor wire. Others were piled in anti-tank ditches. Some had tried to crawl through the obstacles and were caught by drones mid-movement. Explosions tore through the wire barriers. When the smoke cleared, the field looked like a maze built from corpses and twisted metal. The Ukrainians called it the Razor Wire Massacre. The defensive belt between Novotoretsk and Volodymyrivka had been engineered over months. 2 full rows of dragon's teeth blocked vehicles. Razor wire coils forced infantry into narrow channels. Deep trenches created choke points. And above it all, drones circled constantly, spotting every movement, dropping grenades on anyone who tried to advance. Russian soldiers couldn't cut the wire without being seen. Vehicles couldn't leave the roads without hitting obstacles. Engineering equipment couldn't move forward to clear paths because drones destroyed them immediately. Every route led into a pre-targeted kill zone, but Russian commanders kept ordering attacks. The sunk cost fallacy had taken over. Every failed assault justified the next one. Every loss demanded revenge. Every setback required more troops. The operation had become a death spiral. On the first day of the armored push toward Volodymyrivka, Russia sent 16 vehicles. 7 infantry fighting vehicles went first. All 7 were destroyed before reaching the village. 3 hours later, 7 more vehicles, 2 tanks, and several motorcycles tried again, using bad weather to hide from drones. Some got stuck on Dragon's Teeth. Others were hit as troops dismounted. None made it through. Twist, 6:38 now. Then the Russians made a decision that shocked even their own men. Near Rusin Yar, just behind the Russian lines and close to Volodymyrivka, an ammonia pipeline ran through the area. Russian commanders ordered it detonated. The explosion released a massive toxic cloud. Ammonia gas, heavy, deadly. It rolled across the lowlands toward Ukrainian positions, disrupting communications and forcing defenders to relocate. The wind carried the fumes into Ukrainian ground lines, creating exactly the chaos Russian planners wanted. But the wind didn't stop at the Ukrainian lines. It blew back toward Russian positions. Ammonia causes severe respiratory damage, burns the lungs, and can kill within minutes. Russian troops in the area were exposed to their own weapon. The commanders didn't care. They saw it as acceptable losses if it meant confusing the Ukrainians. Under the cover of the gas attack and the resulting chaos, another wave of vehicles moved forward. This time, between 50 and 75 Russian soldiers made it to the outskirts of Volodymyrivka. Half of them died on the way. The survivors found themselves cut off, surrounded, and under constant drone attack. They had traded a gas attack on their own men for a few dozen soldiers trapped in a village they couldn't hold. Counterstrike, 8 Gawit 10 Lowites. Ukrainian forces didn't panic. They had prepared for breakthroughs. Every building in Volodymyrivka had firing positions. Every street had pre-sighted kill zones. Every approach was covered by overlapping fields of fire. The Russian soldiers who made it into the village found themselves in a worse position than the ones stuck outside. At least in the open, you could see the drones coming. In the streets, explosions came from windows, rooftops, and basements. Ukrainian infantry moved through underground tunnels, appearing behind Russian positions without warning. The ammonia cloud began to dissipate. Ukrainian forces adjusted their positions and resumed defensive operations. The Russian troops in the village were now isolated, with no reinforcements, no resupply, and no way out. Drones circled overhead. Snipers watched every movement. Artillery had every street corner ranged. Russian commanders sent more vehicles to extract the survivors. They didn't make it. Drones destroyed 2 armored personnel carriers before they reached the village. A tank threw a track on Dragon's Teeth and was abandoned. Motorcycles were picked off one by snipers and machine gun fire. The extraction mission became another suicide run. Ukrainian defenders knew the pattern by now. Russian commanders would keep sending waves until they ran out of vehicles or political will. Every failed attack added to the body count. Every destroyed vehicle clogged the routes. Every casualty made the next assault harder. The Russians were trapped in their own offensive. They couldn't advance. They couldn't retreat. And they couldn't stop sending men into the grinder because stopping meant admitting the entire operation was a disaster. Climax, 10/12. Back at the sniper position, the shooter from E-40 wasn't done. The stopped motorcycle had become a landmark. Russian forces kept moving past it, using it as a waypoint. They thought the area was safe because nothing had exploded. They didn't know a sniper was watching.